Good evening and welcome back to the Poets Corner. I'm your host, Micah Joel, and I am joined by Topher Tackman.
Good evening, Mike and Joel.
And Topher and I, during break, I was talking about the good work of my sound editor, Chris Nelson, and we talked about how it's so important to have someone who can help me clean up the sound and get rid of some of the background noise and also just the scratchiness of the cheap mic that I'm working with. But I always tell them, don't completely get rid of the sound of the cheap mic. It adds to the show's authenticity. And I was thinking about that, and it makes me think of Tom Waits. Have you heard Tom Waits, Topher?
Oh, yeah.
And what do you think it is about the scratchy mic or Tom Waits' gravelly voice? What do you think it is about that just seems to add to the authenticity of expression?
Well, not to go back to the theme from our first segment, but again, that smokiness, that experience that tells you, the scratchy voice, the smoke, that tells you all is not exactly right here,
Mhm.
but it is good.
I was having an argument with a friend of mine the other day about what is appropriate music to use in liturgy, in worship of the Lord. And he's very pro-organ, and he thinks that the organ and Gregorian chant are really pretty much the only appropriate form of liturgical music. And sometimes I just want to look at him and say, show me one organ with as much soul as a weather-beaten guitar. Show me one poet, because to me the guitar is the lyre of this generation, and you couldn't tell someone they couldn't bring the harp or the lyre into liturgy, because that's the foundation of liturgy. That's the foundation of the Psalms, giving the poet room to express himself. And sometimes I just want to see a guy like Tom Waits just up there, and what I wouldn't pay to see a guitar performance of Tom Waits just doing the songs. I'd pay for like all 10 albums that would take. You know, what do you say, Tom? I don't know. What do you think, Tom?
That would be both interesting, eclectic, and boy, I have a pretty good imagination as a poet, but I'm not sure I can imagine how fantastical. There's a made up word for you. How fantastical that would be.
That's true, man.
Box set, definitely box set. And Tom, if you use our idea, you'll need to make sure you hit us up a little,
Yeah, absolutely.
because we know you're listening now.
If Tom Waits was listening to this show, I think I'd die of happiness. Well, speaking of Tom Waits, I guess we better get back to poetry here. And I wrote a poem this week that kind of reminds me of Tom Waits, and it's called "The Rebirth of a Tool and Die Maker." And my brother David, his birthday was this last week, and his father, a tool and die maker, and therefore one of the poems I wrote to him for his birthday is obviously "The Rebirth of a Tool and Die Maker." Anyway, David, happy birthday. This poem is for you. They say a man must be born again and die to self to get there. I am not afraid, for every day I am made new, recast, rewritten, and revised by the author of all things. I am not afraid. The Lord was a carpenter. He had the pragmatism of a working man, rather than the whims of an aloof artist. I notice in so much of my poetry, I'm always reaching for the sense of manliness that this whimsical poet seems to deny himself in his appearance. But when we talk about something like Tom Waits' gravelly voice, the man with the ragged vocal cords singing about selling his soul to Satan, in all this art, so much of poetry, people talk about how feminine it is. but I think it's just striking when you just see all this new culture art. Is just this grasping, this search for authentic masculinity, just trying to find it, just trying to where is the solidity of the masculine within art. And it's kind of makes me feel glad I have you standing, because I feel like sitting next to you I kind of have an authority on this kind of thing.
Well, I mean, really though, wouldn't you say, Micah Joel, that the same people who say poet is femi or effeminate, art is femi or effeminate, really are the same people who, I mean, let's be frank here, throw around the N-word. Over here in our area, we recently had a sheriff make both a anti-Semitic and homophobic comment on Facebook about a coworker. We all know that the true source of racism is not hate. It is fear and cowardice of that which is different than ourselves.
Wow, he really made a anti-Semitic and homophobic comment on Facebook.
Yes,
It's like it's like homophobia, anti-Semitism, Facebook. It's like, how many stupid things can we hit in the same sentence? It's like me trying to talk to a girl. But I remember once I was walking to the polls in my hometown, Moline, Illinois, and there was this old woman who also wanted to walk to the polls. She was at least an octogenarian. And because of her difficulty, I helped her walk to the polls. And since it wasn't too long a walk, I went and got my car, drove to the polls, and then drove her home so she wouldn't have to walk again. And we ended up spending about an hour together with the walking and the driving. This woman basically told me her life story. And the remarkable thing about her telling me her life story is most of what she told me in that life story was about what had happened to her from somewhere around 18, 19 to about 22, 23. Her first husband who left her. And I don't remember his name. I think maybe it was Sam. And she referred to him as that bastard Sam. And in spite of the fact that she gave me about, an abridged 50-year history of her life, it all came back to that bastard Sam who beat her. Who knows how many times over 50, 60 years. Now, granted, if I ever had a man who beat me, I'd be pretty pissed as well. But 60 years, and the thing I remember from having a conversation with this woman with all this experience is just going back to that same thing, that bastard Sam. And maybe I need to write a poem about that, but to hold on for something for 50 years. 50 years, man. 50 years. I wonder if you carry something for 50 years, how many years it takes to let it go. Some people can let go of things in a moment, but I don't know. It takes me weeks to let go of some things, whether it be an insult or a friend, letting slip something they shouldn't. Sometimes it just festers. Hold on to something for 50 years. I don't even know what it's like to be alive for 50 years, let alone hold on to death for 50.
See, and that's where writing is my check valve. The pressure builds and the pressure builds and the pressure builds, and I write. And while I read this poetry to you and to all the great listeners of this program tonight, it's written down, it's on paper. I've bared my soul, and it's gone.
Topher, would you share with us another poem?
This next poem is called The Monster Inside. And this poem is dedicated to the finest accomplishment that I have had in this short life of mine of 43 years. This poem is dedicated to Ryan, my son whom I adopted, my shining light, and truly the miraculous gift of an incredibly loving and generous God through the gift of adoption, much like that same loving God adopted me. I love you so much, buddy. The monster inside. Like a bomb dropped, this bullet is buried deep within my shoulder. When we play catch, my dear son, every throw of the ball serves as a solemn reminder. Fire stabs me from within. It was not a dream. I lived a nightmare. This is my struggle. Am I human or monster? They remove the human from within us with phrases like death before dishonor and pain is only temporary, but glory lasts forever, twisting us into killing machines. Let me tell you, son, there's no joy in killing. Not in waiting a day and a half for the perfect shot, lying in the sun, patient as the perfect hunter, a solid day and a half, your very flesh being broiled from the inside out. And never in killing a man with your bare, monstrous hands, rough as the skin of 100-year oak. I can't explain what innocence can't comprehend. By God, you never will. I fought the fight. I learned to kill. I did my time so we could stand here this perfect afternoon. Play with nary a worry. The bad man will come. I gave my all. You pitched me that ball in your delivery and throw. I'm human in this moment with you.
Topher, no offense, man, but I think I'm gonna need a minute after that. This is Micah Joel, and this is the Poets Corner.